So this chat with Ryan O'Leary, we did in his camper van, which was parked probably 20 minutes away from my mum and dad's house. He is currently restoring an old yacht, and he has big, big plans to, I'll not spoil the story, but sail around the world and surf all the big surf spots. So Ryan is a massive surfer. So yeah, he has big, grand plans which we chatted about in the back of his camper. We did plan to do it outside, but it was raining, so we couldn't do that. But I brought him spaghetti bolognese, so it was all good. So we had dinner and then had a good catch up. Um, so Ryan is kind of one of those people is just good at every single water sport there is, from surfing, sailing, windsurfing, kiteboarding, uh, you name it. He has done it and he is pretty good at it. So at the minute, his big thing is surfing. So he's if you check out his Instagram, like he has some really sick photos of getting some really nice waves. So I'm sure there's like a surf terminology I should have used there, like getting barreled or something, which I think Ryan uses in our chat, but I'm not really a surfer, so I can't use those words. But anyway, I think it's the chat just covers a really nice story of Ryan's life so far in terms of using the coastline for recreation, and then also his plans for the future. So yeah, I hope you enjoy our coastal catch up, and I will catch you soon.
It's all about Marie and the coastal sea, aquatic life and everything in between. So sit on down and take a seat. Coastal catch-ups with the Stampede.
I'm going to start off by asking you, what are you doing here in a van?
In a van, in the rain, in Ringhaddy Cruising Club. So I am here because this time last year I bought a 37-foot endurance, which is a blue water long keel cruising boat, and I've been rebuilding it for the last year in weather very similar to this.
Yeah, so as you can see outside, it's not that pleasant,
No.
but we have your van to take shelter in, so it works okay.
Yeah, it has been my shelter from the elements.
Yeah, apart from a few leaks.
Apart from a leak that has sprung in the last few weeks.
Yeah. So how's the boat going? How's
the boat it's going well. So I've rebuilt the deck on it, which was heavily leaking. There was around 1,000 holes in it that were all leaking, which was there from an original teak deck that had been screwed on, and then that had been lifted, and a previous owner glued a new teak deck down, and that adhesive, the resin that they used, was very hard and brittle, and over time, with the flexing of the deck, all of those screw holes that the original teak deck had been screwed in with, they all started to leak. So I didn't know it when I bought the boat, and as I was basically digging for anything that I could fix, I found this. But yeah, now it's dry, and I've just epoxy primed it, and I'm going to sail it down to Dublin at the end of this month or kind of early October, where I'm going to refit the interior, and hopefully in the springtime I'll go for a sail.
All the skills that require someone to buy a boat like that and do it up, did you have the skills already, or are you learning on the job?
I guess
you can big yourself up here, Ryan. Yeah, I know everything already.
So no, I didn't know all of the skills. However, I like worked with all of the materials that I'm using before, just on kind of smaller scales.
Yeah.
So around like 2 years ago, I started to make surfboards. And so you're working with fiberglass and polyester resin and epoxy resin.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's very similar to that, other
Mm-hmm.
than that the fiberglass that you're using is like much higher strength, and yeah, it's a little bit, in some ways it's easier to use, in some ways it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
on the boat, it's nice because you just want to use as much as possible. You're not worried about weight.
Yeah.
Whereas if you use a little bit too much. Oops, my bad.
Is that your bedtime alarm?
That's my bedtime. Yeah, with the boat you can use as much resin as you kind of deem necessary.
Yeah.
Whereas with the surfboard, you're trying to keep things as light as possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, like a few times I've like spent a few weeks making a surfboard and I picked it up and I was just like, oh, this thing is a dud.
I think it's really heavy.
It's really heavy, yeah. Or there's just like too much weight in the nose or the tail, and you just know that it's not. It just doesn't feel right. Yeah. Even though it might only be like 100 grams here or there, like it just doesn't feel good, or like it doesn't look good, and you kind of waste all the time. So yeah, this has been a very different experience, but at the end of the day, it's like basically building with resin and fiberglass. So a lot of similarities.
Okay. So this is what you're doing now, and then I think we'll come back to this at the end when we're talking about your future plans. But let's
start from the beginning.
Start from the beginning, man. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess, the beginning is why I've ended up in this spot right now as well. So we're going to start there.
No, we're within half an hour. Can we do it?
Hopefully, anyway. Yeah, so I actually learned how to sail. Originally, I'm from Dublin, grew up in Howth, and I learned to sail in Strangford Dock. So I think the first time I came up here, I was 6 years old. Okay. And I stayed with the Gilmores, and I went out sailing with Robbie and his uncle Ted in a Pico, and we went around an island, and I just was totally overwhelmed.
In a good way?
In a great way, in a great way. Well, the Gilmores are so good at teaching people how to sail. Yeah. So yeah,
I was taught as well by the Gilmores, so
oh man,
they must make good sailors, right?
Yeah, they do. And then pretty much like every year after that, I did the sailing course in Strangford and spent like a few weeks / the whole summer up with them. And like I guess they're to blame for pretty much all my problems now. So like after sailing, after the course, my mum and Heather would tow us around on the back of Lobster. Yeah. And their little kind of tender like / skiff. And they towed me and Robbie around on an old windsurfing board. And then also Heather's mum Vera, Robbie's granny, she taught us how to like use all the tools that were in the glider shed. Right. So I like distinctly remember like she had this book of instructions of like how to use a saw, how to use a hammer, how to hold a nail, how to use a hand drill, and I can like still picture all of those like instructions. Yeah. That she like laid out for Robbie, and me and Robbie would spend hours in the glider shed like just hacking things apart. And that like took me right up until like I was 13, 14 years old. And my sister, she learned to sail in Dublin, and we started to race together when we sailed together for every summer really. And we started racing together. We travelled to Sweden, over to the UK, all around Ireland, doing events, and we had really good fun. And then we stopped sailing together when we were around, I think I was maybe 13, and myself and a friend Lewis, we bought a 49er. Okay. We did actually buy it. I think we bought a second-hand one for. And
this is the Olympic class.
This is the Olympic class boat and I was tiny, like I was really, really small. And it was after an event in Sweden where like, the event actually got cancelled because it was too windy.
Mm-hmm.
The day of racing got cancelled because it was too windy, and we were looking out and we could see windsurfers out blasting around and guys like racing skiffs, and we were like, that looks sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't allowed to go sailing, so we were kind of like, oh, like maybe there's something else that we can do.
Did you want more freedom? Is that what you wanted, Ryan?
That's the eternal quest.
Yeah.
So we bought a 49er, and we were too small for it. He was very tall. He was like 6'4" or 6'6", but yeah, we were just too small of a crew.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, I actually have some windsurfing equipment, and he had a house on the beach,
Uh-huh.
so we just started taking out a little sail and his board, and we were just like, wow, this is class.
Yeah.
So we were like sailing on the weekends, and if it was too windy to go sailing, we'd go out windsurfing. And yeah, we like just fell in love. Like, I think I like wore a little shorty wetsuit all year round. Like, I just couldn't get out of the water.
Yeah.
And yeah, did that for a couple of years, and we like kept going out in offshore winds.
Mm-hmm.
The beach was like pretty safe. At low tide, there was like a really good sandbar.
Mm-hmm.
So we had like really flat water, and a couple of times we went out when the wind was southerly, because we like couldn't drive or anything, we'd like have to go out from his house.
Yeah.
And when the wind was southerly, it was offshore, and we like a couple of times when it was really windy, we'd like have a few hairy moments getting blown out to sea, and we'd like have to swim back in. And we were like, oh, there's definitely like a place that we can go where it's like onshore wind.
Yeah.
So we like begged our parents to swing us around to Dollymount Beach.
Okay.
Which was onshore in a southerly wind, and we didn't realise that there'd actually be waves on that beach.
Yeah.
So this was like a whole kind of new experience
Mm-hmm.
of like being involved in waves, like breaking waves. Sailors, you don't really deal with it that much,
Yeah.
like unless it's kind of strange conditions. And with windsurfing, like you can like jump like into the air, you can like wave ride similar to surfing.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like a whole new experience for us, and we absolutely loved it. And then that kind of like took me up to like, I was around 16,
Mm-hmm.
and I made some really good friends with some of the older guys that were like quite good at it, and they would take me over to the west of Ireland.
These are the 40-year-olds that your mum was worried about?
Yeah. These are the much older guys.
Are you still in contact with them? Like, are you
still in contact with them?
brilliant.
Yeah.
Very
I
good.
still bump into them all the time. And there was another guy who was similar. He was maybe 6 years older than me. His name was Mike Clancy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually a professional windsurfer.
Okay.
So he was in college at the time. And he got onto the pro tour when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, this was in waves.
Mm-hmm.
So, he'd like go to the Canary Islands. He went to Hawaii. And yeah, he was like just kind of an idol of mine, basically.
Okay.
And I'd go away with him and his dad was a really good photographer.
Uh-huh.
His dad is a really good photographer, Michael Clancy. And, so yeah, that was like, I had like a few years with him where like he really pushed me, like, and it was really amazing.
Yeah.
To have like kind of an older guy. And there was a few guys like Oisin Van Gelderen. He's the Irish national speed sailing champion.
Okay.
He's like, I think he's like 14 times Irish wave sailing champion. Like, he's
Okay.
an amazing windsurfer. But so I would go away with them and yeah, have like really like great experiences like in these waves, like pushing myself. And then when I was 17, unfortunately Mikey passed away.
Okay.
And I kind of like fell out of love with windsurfing after
Okay.
that. Well, no, I still loved it, but it just became like a kind of hard sport for me to do because of my relationship with Mikey.
Yeah.
So
But you were always doing it with him, and it was.
yeah,
Okay.
and like it was no one's fault other than my own. Like, I just kind of,
Yeah.
it just like reminded me of him all the time.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so
No, that's fair enough, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So, and guys that I grew up with, they were kite surfing.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that I'd learn to kite surf.
Yeah.
And that was really good fun because I was going away with like guys that I'd grown up with since I was like really small, like
Mhm.
5, 6 years old.
Mhm.
And like the parties were really fun. Like we were like 18, 19, like we were in college. We had cars, so we could go to like wherever was good.
Yeah.
And I was kite surfing with a surfboard, because it's kind of similar to windsurfing. And
Okay.
it was just really good fun.
Can I ask, how do you keep the board on your feet when you jump?
Yeah.
How does that? I
So-
actually watched a video of you doing this. There's a video of you.
Yeah.
So if you Google Ryan O'Leary, there's a video, and you jumped, and it just looked like it was stuck to your foot. And
So yeah, you don't use straps.
Yeah.
So you just use like a normal surfboard, and when you jump, you angle the board into the wind,
okay,
and the wind literally like makes the board stick to your feet.
that's okay.
So you're like using physics, and I
it's
don't
a
know.
lot of skill, I'd say, as well. Or
Yeah, like it's
just
a lot
comes
of
natural to you, Ryan.
it's a lot of muscle memory. Like once
Okay.
you get it right, like you're just like, oh my god, like this
That's
board
what
is
you need to
not
do.
going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, and so something that I never like, I've done it a few times, like when you're rotating, like doing like front rows or back rows, and you have the board stick to your feet the whole time.
Yeah.
Like the feeling is just like you've nailed it. And
Yeah.
that board isn't going anywhere.
Uh-huh.
So that's really nice. And then with kite surfing, I started getting into more like surfy waves.
Uh-huh.
So like waves that barreled, and point breaks. Like with windsurfing, you just kind of wanted like a wave that was long, and
Yeah.
like you could just go as fast as you could down the line,
Mhm.
and like you could overtake all these like sections. But really, like you were kind of missing a lot of the wave because you were just going down the face.
Yeah.
But with kite surfing, you're kind of a little bit more surf style,
Okay.
staying in the pocket. And I spent a month in Cape Verde,
Uh-huh.
with a couple of guys, and they were surfers, and I really wanted to like get barreled out there, but I had no idea kind of like how to get barreled with my kite.
Okay.
And then
Barreled is when the wave comes right over and it
Barreled-
looks like a barrel. Is that?
exactly,
Is
yeah.
that it?
So you're traveling underneath the lip
Yeah.
of the wave. So the wave needs to have a few kind of different characteristics. It needs to be like heavy enough, so that the lip like actually goes over itself,
Uh-huh.
and it needs to be like big enough, tall enough, and
Uh-huh.
fast enough, so you can travel inside.
Okay.
And it's a crazy feeling that
Yeah.
like I don't know, I couldn't do it justice
Yeah.
to describe.
You get good photos as well, don't you?
Yeah,
It looks cool.
yeah, it does. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like, so that was kind of like my first little sense of, like surfing, and like surfing good enough waves that barreled.
Mhm.
But I still liked kite surfing a lot. And then me and my sister, we like worked away for a few summers. I was working on boats, and not like surfing, not kite surfing, I was sailing, but not in like a competitive way.
Mhm.
And we decided that we'd head down to Cape Town for a few, for a month or two.
Mhm.
And I was going to do a few of my tickets to work on boats, and she just wanted to kind of chill out and figure things out.
Yeah.
So we went over there. 3 of us went over, and then I was joined by another friend, Owen,
Mhm.
and Kerry wanted to learn to kite surf, and I just wanted to kite surf as well.
Mhm.
We lived on the beach, and it was like the wind would start off at 15 knots every morning, and then it would like pretty rapidly increase to like 40 knots.
Mhm.
So after 2 weeks of kite surfing and 40 knots, I was black and blue, and I just didn't want to kite surf anymore. I was wrecked. And then Kerry really wanted to like find a beach that we could just like chill out on, like
Mhm.
just, I don't know, eat food, have a few drinks, and just chill out.
Mhm.
So we went searching, and at the end of all these like kind of little trails around Cape Town, there was these amazing beaches, and every time that we'd like arrive there, we'd like meet surfers, and they were lovely little sheltered beaches with like really, really good waves, and like guys were getting barreled, guys were doing sick turns, like little airs, and I had my surfboard from using it with kiting, and my friend Andrew and Turley, they had brought surfboards as well, and Kerry actually, she started surfing then too, and yeah, a few weeks of like trying to learn to surf, like got a couple of like kind of good waves, and just really decided, well, my friend Owen that I was with, we both decided that we would learn to surf.
Okay, that was it. That was
So
the decision
that was
made.
it. Yeah, that was the decision made. So when we got home, I was just like, right, like I had my car and my board, and I just started to spend every weekend out west.
Yeah.
And then met some like really amazing people with a similar kind of mindset. And they're like my best friends now. Like, it feels like I've known them for years.
In terms of mindset, do you mean similar hobbies, or what do you mean by that?
Similar mindset. So the reason why I wanted to surf was to get barreled.
Yeah.
And like, there's a few documentaries that I watched about surfers in Ireland. One of them is Fergal Smith's documentary. Well, it's a kind of web series called Growing. So he is a surfer / farmer, and there's like amazing footage of him that his brother took, where he's surfing. It's all just in Ireland, and it's like in Sligo, down in Clare, and like I didn't believe that waves like this existed in Ireland / anywhere in the world. And I was like, this is right on my doorstep. It's like a 2.5 hour drive from Dublin. Like, why am I doing this? Like, I've watched the series like 20 times. It's class. And then there's other movies, like a movie called Litmus, and it's about a few like professional surfers. There's one section that there's this famous American guy, and he's surfing waves that are also like just wild, and it's up in Bundoran, and you're like, what the hell? Like, this exists here. Like, so there was a few things that like I kind of built up an idea of in my head and about what surfing is. And when I started, I was like, this is what I want to do. And so the guys that I hang around with now, like, they want to surf these waves too. They've watched these growing up. They're obsessed with like these waves. And they also just love to go camping, like sleep in the van. Like, as soon as we finish work, like, we're going wherever the waves we think are going to be the best for the weekend. It doesn't matter where we live. Like, we'll drive 4 or 5, 6 hours. I'll drive from like Cork up to Donegal, like, to go there. Like, so I guess that's what I mean by a similar mindset.
It's kind of like a hunt for.
It's part of it. It's like, you know, that's kind of, you drive all night, you sleep for a few hours.
It's a bit like a cliche, the hunt for a perfect wave, isn't it? But it's actually it's true.
It's totally a cliche. Like, and like, if I talk about it, it's hard not to sound like an addict. Like I am that cheesy fucking Point Break person. Like, but at the end of the day, it's like just about pushing like my skills. To like, that's what the reward is. And it's on top of like it being like a dream, it's also really good fun. Doing it with friends.
Absolutely.
So like, there is like a great sense of community at all these places, and everyone is there to surf these waves. Like, they're all there to do the same thing. We're not just kind of going to surf a couple of waves. It's like, oh, this is like a passion that we like work really hard to be able to like do most weekends. So and then for some stupid reason I decided to buy a boat last year.
This is distracting the hunt for the perfect wave.
This is a major distraction.
The surfing then, it's obviously something you'll want to continue to do. Is there any times that you've felt scared on the water when you're about to catch a wave and you're like, this is maybe a bridge too far, or is it all been adrenaline fueled and doesn't matter? Or?
No, there's definitely seen a few times that I've like scared myself to death. I guess, like, there's a few places that I've surfed like Mullaghmore, Aliens Wave, which is at the Cliffs of Moher, Riley's, and yeah, just like, I guess you do get humbled, like you have this rush, like on a Friday afternoon, it's like, oh my god, like I'm finished work, I'm gonna go and like get the wave of my life, and then you paddle out and you realise it's like 8 foot, 10 foot, maybe even 12 foot, and you're like, what the hell have I done? Why am I out here? I do not have the skills to be here. And sure enough, like a wave lands on your head, and like it's the worst thing you've ever experienced. And yeah, like it is a very like humbling experience. Like you don't really take things for granted when that happens, because you're like at the mercy of like an unstoppable force. So yeah, it is always nice to like, sorry, it's not nice to get that wake up call, but you do get put in your place. And I guess it's happened to all of us so many times now that like something, like you do get caught out or something happens to someone, and like I guess people see like that, people might just be like, oh, you're just an adrenaline junkie, or you take crazy risks for like just for in search of this reward. But like we train with the Irish Tow Surf Rescue every year, like we know our first aid, like we know what to do when stuff goes wrong. Like I free dive, so my breath holds are good. Well, they're okay. They're never good enough. And like you do all these things together, so with your friends, and like you build up trust like with them, and you know that like if something goes wrong, they'll be there, or that you'll be there for them, and like you do build up this high level of trust, and you do minimize the risks. Like no one wants to get hurt, no one wants to be the one that like ends the session early because like you've done something stupid, you've made the wrong decision. And like when you're surfing like these waves, you like no one would be out there if they didn't think that they would be able to surf them. Obviously, like you don't know until you go about your skills, but like if any normal person went out, they'd be scared to death. And like I don't know, there's been plenty of times where I've been like, it's too big today, when you can't like, you can't really fake.
It's almost like you're describing a team sport here. Whereas I always thought in my head surfing was quite individual. I suppose it is at the end of the day, you're the only one on the wave, but you're describing like looking out for each other, and it's is that wee community, does that apply, I suppose?
For sure, yeah. I think that's probably like that describes very well. There is a small little community of people that love to do this, and like you are absolutely delighted. Well, I'm absolutely delighted if a friend gets a good wave. Like it's never like you're stoked for them. And if you get a good wave yourself, like it's a bonus. But like sometimes you paddle out and you don't get any waves. It's like it's not your day. Like a wave might come through, you pull out because you're scared or like you're tired, or I don't know, it might just not be your day. But if your friend gets a good one, you're absolutely delighted for them. You are jealous that they got one, but like there is a big team aspect to surfing like bigger waves, and it is a little team that we go out with, and
nice.
If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Coastal Catch Up newsletter, where you can keep up to date with all the new episodes. You can do it at www.coastalcatchups.com. Now back to the episode.
How long have you been held down by a wave for? Like, would you know, or is it just like you just know by your breath?
It depends. It's kind of a hard one. It's usually not that long.
Okay.
What happens when you're surfing is like when you fall, all the wind gets knocked out of you. So you don't, or you've paddled really hard to like either get over a wave, or you've paddled really hard to catch the wave. So you're completely out of breath anyway. So I can hold my breath for a few minutes. like here now,
Yeah.
but when you're out there, it might
Yeah.
only be 15 seconds. That would be a long
Yeah.
hold down,
Yeah.
but you're so rattled from like getting pushed down deep.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've had a few like long hold downs
Mhm.
where I've felt that I'm never going to come up. But we wear like impact vests, pull vests when
Yeah.
it's really big, so
Yeah.
it does get
Okay.
surfs a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't had it long enough that I've had a bad one. Definitely some scary ones, but yeah.
Yeah. And I think as well, from what I've picked up, there's a lot of risk management as well, like you said about your impact, your vest and stuff. And then you did
Yeah.
the training you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people maybe who've just see the photos and stuff and do associate surfers with maybe adrenaline junkies on the big waves. There is a lot of thought and care and skill and professionalism, I suppose, as well goes into it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done like in-person training. I've done online webinars with Patagonia and their big wave, their the BRAG course, big wave risk assessment group, and that was really useful. And like, it's good to do these courses just because, although you might not learn something new, like when you repeat all these actions over and over again, when something does go wrong, like for me, I always find that you do resort to your training. Like in sailing, we all learn CPR to be an instructor, or the yacht clubs usually run like those courses, and it's nice to know when stuff does go wrong that like that's what you resort back to. So yeah, and then the Irish Tow Surf Rescue group, that's really good because they've had loads of experience over, I think they've been going for maybe 10 or 15 years. So everyone knows kind of what to do. And every time there is an incident, like there is a like kind of debrief afterwards, like what could we have done better? Like what was new? What did we not prepare for? And like we have a WhatsApp group, so everyone kind of chimes in and yeah.
That's good.
So yeah, it is.
It's like constantly building the knowledge and safety and stuff.
Yeah, because no one wants to get hurt. Like you are there to have fun. Like, yeah, it is a passion. But like everyone has a job, everyone has a family. Like, it's, yes, some people are professional, but the majority of us are just doing it for fun. Like, so, yeah.
Cool. Surfing communities as well. So in Ireland, it sounds like everyone's very friendly.
Yeah.
Is there places that it sometimes isn't as friendly or welcoming?
Yeah, like Ireland is very friendly. It does get quite competitive in areas, and like, yeah, but generally if you respect the rules and respect the locals, like you're gonna have a good session. As long as you're not trying to get like loads of waves, everyone is really friendly. And me coming from Dublin, like I don't have a home break, and like I'm never a local when I go away. But yeah, you just have to respect the rules, wait for your turn, and just slowly build up a relationship with everyone that is a local. But yeah, when I travel, I'm dying to come home because it is different. But it's because I guess it works well in Ireland because throughout the whole winter, it is quite difficult to surf all year round. Like in January, February, March, like the water is like 3 or 4 degrees. Like you're fucking like breaking ice off your booties. Your gloves are frozen, your wetsuit's soaked because you can't dry it overnight. And like, so when you're out there, like day in, day out with these people, like everyone is just happy to be in the water. And like, I don't know, if you don't want to be there, you're not going to be there because it's so hard. But then, yeah, when like you go abroad, like to Europe, it's a lot more competitive. You have a lot more people competing for like that one wave that everyone is like dying to get. And you do get shouted at. You do like have unreasonable behavior towards you.
You're talking about your recent trip.
So paddled out, and like it was like fine. It was maybe like 4 to 6 foot, like quite big, plenty of waves to go around, and like two local guys. And I was sitting like on the shoulder compared to them. And they were like catching waves, sometimes not catching waves, and one of them was paddling out after catching a wave, and he was just like speaking like quite aggressively towards me, and I ended up going in after like 1 or 2 waves. Like he was like splashing me, he was telling me to go in, and like it's just because I wasn't from there. And he, I don't know, felt the need to say that to me, but at the end of the day, like he's from there and I don't make the rules, so whatever, I'll respect him.
I was trying to think, is there a way around it? Like, are you better like contacting someone who is a local and going out with them, or is that possible in the surfing community, or something hard to do?
It's hard to do, I guess. Yeah. Like you just have to, in that situation, like you just have to keep going out, and eventually he'll get the idea that you're going. Well, not him, but that type of person will get the idea that you're not going anywhere. You are always going to be there. Well, not always, but like, and like he's not going to surf every day, so you just do it that way. And but yeah, at the end of the day, like the best thing you can do is just be respectful. You don't always have to paddle in, but like just avoid getting under their nose too much.
You don't want your tires let down or anything.
Which does happen, or like wax put on your window, and just don't do anything to really piss them off.
But generally in Ireland, it's pretty.
Yeah, generally in Ireland, it is really good because, and like I guess respect breeds respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everyone waits their turn, and once that system's in place, like if everyone's waiting for their turn, then like it is a system, and like it's like a conveyor belt. People just wait their turn, and everyone has a good time, and that's just the best way to do it. About, and then if someone is acting the dickhead, like paddling inside everyone, like someone will call them out, and they'll feel like a right fool, like because everyone else has been waiting their turn. So it works well.
If I was to try and get into surfing, what would be the best way to go about it?
What would be the best way? Definitely start off with a few lessons first. Down in Clare, Bundoore and Sligo, Strand Hill or something, or out in Mayo, and just like get really comfortable like with an instructor there, and then just get a foamy and just like actually go surfing. People are always like, how do I like learn how to surf? Well, like you have to go to the beach and get in the water. It's like, it is really difficult. Like the first few times you go out, you can't duck dive a wave. Like you are literally face down in the water. But you overcome it, and then you have a skill for life. And like, but like days like today, like you can find some waves and it does become really fun. If I didn't have these water sports throughout the winter, it would be such a long winter. Now I find like the summer is
not anymore, Ryan. You have a boat to
keep me preoccupied. But like we all find the summer quite long. There hasn't been that many waves over this summer, and like we're all dying for winter again. So it is great, and Ireland is such a amazing place to surf over the winter. So it's a good thing to do.
I was actually I was in Cornwall, and I knew. Have you heard of the Wave Project?
Yes.
Yeah. They have a group up in the North Coast. I find it quite good. It was interesting to read about it because they like provide surf therapy and stuff. So there's obviously a big side of like introducing people to new sports and perhaps maybe outside their comfort zone. Like to try and use it as a force for good in terms of. I think I remember they had a documentary and stuff like people with anxiety and all using it to get outside and experience new things. So like the sport is definitely a good, I don't want to call it a tool, but like it could be used as a method for.
Definitely, yeah.
Good,
Well, like
yeah.
it teaches you like discipline. Like it's like, yeah, it's if you really dedicate like a portion of your life to getting good at something, that in turn teaches you a whole like set of tools for life and how to deal with like conflicts and problems. And like surfing has taught me like discipline and like, I don't know, you're out in Mother Nature, there's something a lot bigger than you happening, and like you can be put in your place by it if you like try and do something that's above your above your skill level or pay grade. And like also the sense of community, like people having your back, like that only comes from like developing trust and like them relying on you and you relying on them and building that trust. And yeah, and like then there's the physical aspect to it. Like I want to keep pushing my body so I can like surf better waves and like be comfortable with myself, and then like mentally like have the mental strength to like not breathe when I'm like underwater.
When you want to.
And like there's a whole kind of like mindfulness and meditation kind of like aspect to surfing. And like it just teaches you like to like, I don't know, it teaches all these skills while also being a really enjoyable and fun activity. And yeah, so like why wouldn't you learn?
So your plan going forward then, you have the boat here that you'll hopefully get ready. From talking to you, your plan is to merge surfing and sailing, to go around. You're saying you're planning to go to the north of Scotland, and then tell us a bit about that.
So yeah, I guess like you see people in French Polynesia and Fiji and Hawaii, and they sail and surf like really amazing waves, but it's quite difficult to do that here. However, in the springtime, I'd love to, with all going well with the boat project, I'd love to sail up to the Outer Hebrides and have a little sail and surf trip up there, then go around to the north of Scotland. There's some really good waves there, so kind of merge the two of them that way. And then from there I'd love to go up to Norway. I'm not too sure about surfing. I do know that there is some like kind of maybe novelty / okay waves there, but I think it's just a really amazing and beautiful place. All the fjords look like an amazing place, and it would be a shame to, I don't know, go to North Scotland and not go across. And so that would be a little exploring over the summer maybe, and then sail back to Scotland and go through the Caledonian Canal. Obviously no waves there. But yeah, that would be kind of a few months where I'd be testing the waters, literally, with the sailing and surfing aspect. And then, well, obviously it would be amazing to end up in the Pacific, in French Polynesia, and actually have some nice warm temperatures to go sailing and surfing in.
That's long term.
That's long term, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you going to do this all by yourself?
I'm planning to do it all by myself, and it would be a bonus if there was anyone doing it.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I'm building the boat. So it is like a kind of solo expedition boat, but if there's more people, that's just a bonus. So I definitely have friends that would love to do some of the trips with me. But obviously people have commitments, and so that's kind of the general plan.
So no commitments. Avoid any commitments at home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Keep yourself. Fair enough.
Yeah. Keep the head down. Stay out of trouble.
Yeah. So as well as surfing and sailing, Ryan, I've also seen on social media you sell oysters and trick oysters. Can you tell me a bit about that?
So, Where do I even start? So, one of my very close friends, Jack, his father started a restaurant out in Howth,
Okay.
and his father is a Michelin star chef, and
Do you want to give him a shout out?
his name is Aidan McManus,
Okay. And what's the restaurant called?
the King Citric,
Nice.
and my friend is Deck McManus, and he's taken over the restaurant.
Brilliant.
It's restaurant and accommodation. It's like the most unique restaurant I've ever been to.
Okay.
So they use all local shellfish, fish, and all Irish seafood, basically. That's their whole menu. That's what they've based their menu on since it started. And so where did we even start? There was this Howth festival thing called the Prawn Festival, where all of the local restaurants in Howth got to put up a stall, and any tourists that came to Howth got to go to this festival and eat like any of the kind of signature dishes that we made. And we did it like for the first couple of years, and we were like doing prawns, doing mussels, and we were doing oysters. I was just helping out Deck, like doing this. And the oysters started to really like kick off. So we were using Kelly oysters. So they are based in Galway, and they're the oldest oyster farm family in Ireland.
Okay.
And their oysters are quite different to everyone else's oysters.
Okay.
They're just perfect.
Right.
They're amazing. And over the years, we were kind of working with Kelly's, and like we learned how to properly shuck an oyster, and then they're obviously served in the restaurant, and we started to kind of like do more and more events, and slowly started. Well, we think that we slowly started to make oysters more popular around Ireland,
Okay.
/ mainly in Dublin, and so now like I think we've done 6 festivals this summer alone, and this is like probably my 10th year doing it.
Brilliant.
And I'd say I've probably shucked close to like 100,000 oysters at this stage.
Okay. Sorry, I'm going to sound ignorant here. What does shuck mean?
Shuck means preparing an oyster
right
to be eaten.
Okay.
So we serve our oysters raw.
Yeah.
So oysters are a bivalve mollusk, and they come in a shell, and to like eat them, you remove the top shell, you remove the oyster flesh from the shell. It's attached by 2 tendons, which make it open and close. And then we pair it with red wine vinaigrette, shallots, and parsley, or we have a few different dressings. And like the only way to describe what the experience is like is just like jumping into the freshest seawater in the world.
When you used it. Okay.
When you eat one, it's like going for your sea swim.
Okay.
In a mouthful. It's like it's life changing, and they're like packed full of like stuff that's really good for you: zinc, potassium, B vitamins, and like they're an aphrodisiac because of like these reasons, like, and yeah, like a lot of people come up to us and they're like, "Oh, I don't like oysters," like, and it's like, "Well, have you tried them?" And it's like, "No," and it's like, "Okay, well, like, do you want to try one?" Or they have tried one, and like it hasn't been shucked well, like it hasn't been cared for properly, like either in the kitchen or like in its lifetime of growing to the size of the shell that you want. So like working with Kelly's, who take great pride in their oysters, so they kind of work as like a co-op. They have their beds in the south of Galway Bay, and like they work with farmers that are all locals who have like grown oysters like for generations. So that's why the oysters are such good quality. And it's just a lot of fun, like doing 4 days of shucking for like a few thousand people. It's like a great way just to kind of use your selling skills, and you're also giving people like a really like unique Irish food / experience. And like it's a lot of fun.
What's the secret to good shucked oyster, if I've
A
used that
good
word right.
shucked oyster. So, yeah, it is preserving the flesh in the shell.
Okay.
So you don't want to stab the oyster.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, when you're shucking an oyster, you don't want to take any of the shell that you're cutting
Okay.
and like have it in the flesh. So it's just a nice clean shuck, while preserving all of the flesh inside the shell.
Okay.
And also keeping the water inside the shell when you've shucked it.
Okay.
That's kind of what separates like a good oyster and a bad oyster is the water that it grows up in. They're 3 years old, the ones that we generally serve. And they filter like a good few liters of water every hour. So that's where they get their whole taste from.
Yeah.
And that water, like it's from Kelly's, it's the cleanest like seawater in the world. So it's like has such a unique crispy taste. So yeah, you just want to preserve. You want to keep the oyster like as best as possible before. Yeah. And we shuck it to order. So you come to us, you want 3 oysters, we shuck them in front of you.
Ah, okay.
So
so it's proper fresh.
Proper fresh, yeah. We don't serve them. We don't leave them on ice. We don't, we don't like do anything. We just shuck them to order, and like then we know exactly what oyster we've given you. Yeah. Like there's about 30 calculations that go on when you open an oyster, like what to do, and it's all just happening automatically in our heads to give you like the best experience with an oyster. Okay. So a lot goes into it, but we built a little trailer last year that we go around to events and weddings with, and like before I don't know what we were doing, but like we'd build a bar and a whole kind of unit each festival, which like took like a few days to do. But now we just have a self-contained unit with fridges, and we just pull out our bar and have a little awning. So nice. Yeah. Are you still going to do that going forward? Is that the plan, or is that? Yeah. So I have in my calendar like the events that we do like every year, and yeah, if I can go sailing and travel back for those events, then be perfect. It would be perfect. Yeah. Is that? So is that a wee business? Do you want to? What's the name of it? We just do it through the King Citric. Okay. Yeah. So it's all part of the same. Yeah. And you can, I think it's Oyster Bar at King Citric for bookings. So if anyone wants to book, they can check that out. Nice one. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much. No, thank you. I've had a great time coming down. The weather's been crap, but sure. I think we've made the most of it. We absolutely have. I think we're pretty good at that in Ireland, aren't we? Yeah. Need to be. Yeah. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Listen, thanks so much, Ryan, for coming on the Coastal Catch-Ups. I'm excited to keep up to date with the progress on the boat. Thank you very much. I'm also keen to I only live, Mum and Dad are 15 minutes up the road, so if you need a hand. Brilliant. Or if you need tools, we have a lot of tools. So excellent. If you forget anything, Oh, I'll pop in by. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're surfing, surfing's one of those sports I've never really delved into that much, and it was really good to speak with you and get your insight into it. Yeah, absolutely. And you were recently featured on the Surfline magazine. Yeah. So you're going to be in the limelight a bit more. Maybe. Between this podcast and magazines, you're just... I'm blowing up. So my friends, like, they're a lot more talented than me in the surf world. So, Megan Guida, she is a water photographer. Okay. So, and her boyfriend Killian is one of my best friends, and he's really pushed me in learning to surf the waves that I want to surf. He's a lot better surfer than me, very competitive. So we used to go away most weekends together, like camping out in his van. So yeah, and then Megan's brother, Alexi, I used to windsurf against in competitions. Okay. So I've actually known them since I was 15, and I randomly bumped into them on the West about 6 or 7 years ago, and we kind of kicked it all back off again. So yeah, we have a lovely little team, and yeah, I don't know, we're just doing what we love, and
Nice.
it's great to have Megan like capture all these moments, because
Absolutely.
like, I guess we're not doing them for the photograph, but it's a nice little bonus when you come in.
Yeah.
And it's also quite humbling, because sometimes you think that you've got the wave of your life. You have photographic evidence that you're not in the bar
Yeah.
at all, or
Yeah.
so it's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you can look back at them when you're old and whenever you can't
Yeah,
surf anymore,
old and
Ryan.
grumpy,
you-
and,
you can point at them and be like, oh,
Yeah.
I used to do that. Listen, Ryan, thanks again, and I look forward to keeping up to date with all these activities you're doing. And yeah,
Yeah.
catch you soon.
Thank you very much for coming in.